4 years. Quite so, says Talleyrand. Meantime, I want the consul's order to the prize court at Le Havre to restore my friend here his ship. Nonsense, says Boney. Give away an oat-built brig of 207 tons for sentiment? Certainly not. She must be armed into my navy with 14 12-pounders and 2 long 4s. Is she strong enough to bear a long 12 forward? Now I could have sworn he'd paid no heed to my talk, but that wonderful headpiece of his seemingly skimmed off every word of it that was useful to him. Ah, General, says Talleyrand, you are a magician without morals. But the brig is undoubtedly American, and we don't want to offend them more than we have. Need anybody talk about the affair? He says. He didn't look at me, but I knew what was in his mind. Just cold murder because I worried him, and he'd order it as easily as ordering his carriage. You can't stop 'em, I said. There's 22 other men besides me. I felt a little more had set me screaming like a wired hare. Undoubtedly American, Talleyrand goes on. You would gain something if you returned the ship, with a message of fraternal goodwill published in the Moniteur. That's a French paper like the Philadelphia Aurora. A good idea, Boney answers. One could say much in a message. It might be useful, says Talleyrand. Shall I have the message prepared? He wrote something in a little pocket ledger. Yes, for me to embellish this evening. The Moniteur will publish it tonight. Certainly. Sign, please, says Talleyrand, tearing the leaf out. But that's the order to return the brig, says Boney. Is that necessary? Why should I lose a good ship? Haven't I lost enough ships already? Talleyrand didn't answer any of those questions. Then Boney sidled up to the table and jabs his pen into the ink. Then he shies at the paper again. My signature alone is useless, he says. You must have the other 2 consuls as well. Sieyès and Roger Ducos must sign. We must preserve the laws. By the time my friend presents it, says Talleyrand, still looking out of the window, only 1 signature will be necessary. Boney smiles. It's a swindle, says he, but he signed and pushed the paper across. Give that to the president of the prize court at Le Havre, says Talleyrand, and he will give you back your ship. I will settle for the cargo myself. You have told me how much it cost. What profit did you expect to make on it? Well then, as man to man, I was bound to warn him that I'd set out to run it into England without troubling the revenue, and so I couldn't rightly set bounds to my profits. I guessed that all along, said Puck. There never was a Lee to Warminghurst that wasn't a smuggler last and first. The children laughed. It's comical enough now, said Pharaoh, but I didn't laugh then. Says Talleyrand after a minute, I am a bad accountant, and I have several calculations on hand at present. Shall we say twice the cost of the cargo? Say! I couldn't say a word. I sat choking and nodding like a china image while he wrote an order to his secretary to pay me. I won't say how much, because you wouldn't believe it. Oh, bless you, Abby, God bless you. I got it out at last. Yes, he says, I am a priest in spite of myself, but they call me bishop now. Take this for my episcopal blessing, and he hands me the paper. He stole all that money from me, says Boney over my shoulder. A Bank of France is another of the things we must make. Are you mad? He shouts at Talleyrand. Quite, says Talleyrand, getting up. But be calm, the disease will never attack you. It is called gratitude. This gentleman found me in the street and fed me when I was hungry. I see. And he has made a fine scene of it, and you have paid him, I suppose. Meantime, France waits. Oh, poor France, says Talleyrand. Goodbye, Candide, he says to me. By the way, he says, have you yet got Red Jacket's permission to tell me what the President said to his cabinet after Monsieur Gannett rode away? I couldn't speak, only shake my head, and Boney, so impatient he was to go on with his doings, he ran at me and fair pushed me out of the room. And that was all there was to it. Pharaoh stood up and slid his fiddle into one of his big skirt pockets as though it were a dead hare. Oh, but we want to know lots and lots more, said Dan. How you got home, and what old Magnon said on the barge, and wasn't your cousin surprised when he had to give back the Bertha Arrête? And tell us more about Toby, cried Una. Yes, and Red Jacket, said Dan. Won't you tell us any more? They both pleaded. Puck kicked the oak branch on the fire till it sent up a column of smoke that made them sneeze. When they had finished, the shaw was empty except for old Hobden stamping through the larches. The gypsies have took 2, he said, my black pullet and my little gingy-specked cockerel. I thought so, said Dan, picking up one tail feather that the old woman had overlooked. Which way did they go? Which way did the runagates go? Said Hobden. Hobby, said Una, would you like it if we told Keeper Ridley all your goings and comings? Poor honest men. Your jar of Virginny will cost you a guinea, which you reckon too much by 5 shillings or 10. But light your churchwarden and judge it accordin' when I've told you the troubles of poor honest men. From the Capes of Delaware, as you are well aware, we sail with tobacco for England, but then our own British cruisers they watch us come through, sirs, and they press 50 of us poor honest men. Or if by quick sailing, thick weather prevailing, we leave them behind, as we do now and then, we are sure of a gun from each frigate we run from, which is often destruction to poor honest men. Broadsides the Atlantic we tumble short-handed, with shot-holes to plug and new canvas to bend, and off the Azores Dutch Dons and Monsieurs are waiting to terrify poor honest men. Napoleon's embargo is laid on all cargo, which comfort or aid to King George may intend. And since roll, twist, and leaf of all comforts is chief, they try for to steal it from poor honest men. With no heart for fight, we take refuge in flight, but fire as we run our retreat to defend, till our stern chasers cut up her fore braces, and she flies off the wind from us poor honest men. 'Twixt the 40s and 50s southeastward the drift is, and so when we think we are making Land's End, alas, it is Ushant with half the King's navy blockading French ports against poor honest men. But they may not quit station, which is our salvation, so swiftly we stand to the nor'ard again, and finding the tail of a homeward bound convoy, we slip past the Scillies like poor honest men. 'Twixt the Lizard and Dover we hand our stuff over, though I may not inform how we do it, nor when. But light on each quarter, low down in the water, is well understanded by poor honest men. Even then we have dangers from meddlesome strangers, who spy on our business and are not content to take a smooth answer, except with a handspike, and they say they are murdered by poor honest men. To be drowned or be shot is our natural lot. Why should we moreover be hanged in the end, after all our great pains, for to dangle in chains, as though we were smugglers, not poor honest men? End of Section 8.